Okay, today we're going to continue in the Good Guy's Guide to Great Sex. This chapter is all about the clitoris. And intercourse does not stimulate the clitoris usually. That's what they're talking about. Because when you think about the hand motion that's involved for a man to orgasm, it's usually like an up and down motion, okay? That's how he masturbates, and that's how he gets a blowjob, or he is in a vagina, right, for intercourse. But for a woman, the way that she usually likes her clitoris stimulated is in small movements, rubbing back and forth or in circles. And there's no intercourse involved at all. In fact, what they say in the book, all those nerves giving women pleasure are not located in the vagina. Where they would be stimulated during intercourse, they're outside the vagina. So during intercourse, a man stimulates his erectile tissue inside the vagina, which has very few nerve endings, while an analog to the vagina, the clitoris, gets no stimulation at all. I would say that it depends on how a woman moves. She can get some clitoral stimulation, but it's not usually direct enough for her to experience an orgasm, okay? So the fact that the clitoris is outside her vagina tells us that her pleasure is supposed to matter. That's what they say in the book. Actually, I don't agree. I have no idea why God designed us this way, that the intercourse is a natural way that a man actually masturbates in a vagina. And if a woman were to masturbate on a guy, she'd be grinding on him. There would be no penetration, really. Although penetration does feel good. Now, one mistake they make in this book, and the only thing in this book I really disagree with, is that they don't understand what the clitoris is, because they refer to the clitoris as the small bit of tissue in front of the vagina between the labia majora. That's wrong. I actually emailed them to let them know that it was wrong. The clitoris is a huge 4-inch thick, long, thick erectile tissue that's the size of the penis but internal, that goes under the labia majora all the way to the anus, to the pubic bone. And this is where this book, Women's Anatomy of Arousal, is really good. It was written in the 90s, but if you just Google clitoris and look at the images, you will see it's huge. The glands of the clitoris is just 1% of the surface area of the volume of the actual clitoris. The 99% of the clitoris is internal. You do not see it. And for this, I'm going to refer you to a diagram. Most people, including the authors, are referring to the clitoris as the glands, the very sensitive glands. But see all this? The vestibular bulbs and the legs, and then also the little shaft, are all part of the clitoris. What are the other things in the diagram? This is the vaginal opening. This is the vagina. This is the urethra, where the urine comes out. And the only part you will see is this. The rest of this is internal. So what you will see, if you look at a woman, you'll just see her lips, the skin of the lips. Okay, so that's very important. I'm not going to go into more graphic detail here, but pretty much that's an important fact that people have to know. And another thing is, what a lot of men don't know, I'm going to add to this book what they should have said, is that a lot of men go right to the sensitive glands. Don't do that. Don't do that. It's too quick and too rough. A lot of men go right for the glands. That would be like a woman only stroking your head, never touching your balls, and never touching your shaft. And it really shows that you're clueless. And in my opinion, kind of dumb. Not good in bed. Rushed and impatient. The other thing, so don't ever go right for the glands of the clitoris. It's like, so this is why a lot of women don't like sex. Because there are so many well-meaning men who just do things that are just very annoying, very bad, icky. Going right for the glands. The other mistake they make is under the vulva, the inner pink tissue is a very thin, delicate skin, very thin. And rubbing that doesn't feel good, especially when it's dry. Rubbing it when it's dry actually hurts. They don't know. Rubbing that pink skin when it's dry actually hurts. They want to go in there and they want to touch and they want to rub. Don't do that. And finally, a lot of men, when they go exploring with their tongue, they're just moving around. They don't know what they're doing. And that also can feel really bad because licking over the urethra is extremely uncomfortable. And it's supposed to be because we're not supposed to have things sloshing around at our urethra opening. That can cause a UTI, I guess. But if someone's going down on a woman, you want to start more on top of the outer lips where the skin is and just spend a lot of time down there. Don't open the lips to go in, and do not lick over the urethra. You can see the urethra, it's like a tiny, like the head of a pin opening where the urine comes out. And ladies, always urinate after intercourse to avoid getting a UTI. I think those are the main things that guys should know about the clitoris. So to summarize, the clitoris is as large as a penis. A penis is just an external clitoris. Everyone starts out having a clitoris, and then boys develop theirs externally into a penis. So a penis is merely an external clitoris. You could say it that way. So there's a lot more erectile tissue. Number 2, don't go right for the glands. Number 3, don't rub the pink tissue when it's dry. Number 4, don't lick over the urethra. Now, it sounds like a lot to remember, but if you're with a woman, you automatically will know. The same way that a woman knows not to bite on your balls or bite on your penis and stuff like that, you will just naturally just know it. But if you don't know, because no one ever told you, you're going to be fumbling around and women are not going to like sex with you. I'm not sounding very patient when I say this, because as the recipient of any of this, it's just extremely annoying to be touched in this way. And a lot of guys just don't know. And I bet you there are very few men reading this book. Okay, so that was about the clitoris. Now we're going to talk about the sexual response cycle. There's explaining that there's a difference for men and women sexually. And yes, absolutely. So this is what guys have to know, is that for a woman to feel pleasure, men have to slow down and think about the woman. They say their wives, but I'm going to say woman, okay, because I'm not religious. This is a religious couple. God made women's bodies so that for each of you to feel pleasure, you'll have to spend some time focusing on her. Sorry, guys. So the guys that love pleasuring women and making women come and going down on women, and by the way, some are like the most hottest, masculine guys where I'm like, oh my God, you're so freaking hot. Love going down on women and making women come. It's a very alpha male thing. But anyway, here's something else you need to understand. While sex works best when a man concentrates less on what he's feeling and more on what she's feeling, so as to prolong intercourse and to make her feel good, the opposite is true for a woman. It works best for her if she can stop multitasking in her head, start concentrating on what's happening in her own body and just let herself experience it. And they say in the book that a lot of women have trouble with that because they always have thoughts running through their mind. But for sex to work well, a woman has to be a little bit selfish and pay attention to what's going on in her body. And a man has to be a little bit unselfish and also pay attention to what's going on in her body. So the sexual response cycle is that for some people, they have a spontaneous libido. They feel a desire and then they want to have sex. For other people, it's more responsive, where they're only turned on after they've started touching one another. They say typically that men have more of a spontaneous libido, like they're like, I'm horny, I want sex, let me find sex. And that women tend to have a responsive libido. I'm getting touched, I'm having a kiss on my neck, I'm getting a massage, now I'm turned on. I like how he talked to me, now I want to be closer. That's not always the case, but those are the generalities that they talk in. Now, as I mentioned in another video, this couple did a survey of 25,000 men and women, 4 surveys actually, to ask them about their sexual experiences, and married couples actually. So their results are very interesting, and what they found in their survey is that although many women can also have spontaneous libidos, men were about 3 times more likely to have a spontaneous libido than women. Many women aren't turned on in the same way. They don't skip rapidly from desire into excitement simply by a look or stray thought. They need to be physically warmed up first before desire even registers. So that's more of a responsive libido. They also found that women who are reliably aroused by the time sex is finished, the women that actually enjoy sex, 70% of them are not aroused when they start, but they know they'll get there. So again, more of spontaneous desire. So the solution is not to wait for her to start panting, but to do something about it, to ignite her responsive desire. Now, when it comes to sexual desire and excitement, women need to be in the right frame of mind before they can move forward. And I just made a video about this earlier today, how some guys get so excited and they're so gropey, and this is not good. See, they talk about in this book too, I'm not the only one. This is a man and a woman, and they're talking about this. A lot of guys can be pretty heavy-handed when a gentler touch is required. Sheila, one of the authors of this book, frequently receives emails from women asking how to get their husbands to stop grabbing their breasts or pinching their butts when they're doing the dishes. Many women consider sexual advances like this intrusive. For these women, the sexual response cycle isn't triggered from a sudden grope, but from gentle, non-sexual touching. But now sometimes it's the woman who has a higher libido than the man. Of the 20,000 women in Sheila's survey, 19% reported having the higher libido, and many talked about how visually stimulated they were, while many had husbands that had more of a responsive libido. So again, everyone is different. Now, to get the person with the responsive libido, or let's say the woman, excited, you don't want to go right for the direct route. See, for guys, they have 2 routes that result in erection. One is in the brain. It's like something visual or something someone said or a sexy thought, and they're turned on, they're hard. And the other one is someone just grabs their penis, and according to men I've asked, and I've asked a lot of them, it's okay to just grab their penis pretty much any time and it feels good and they like it. And so they think, well, we would like it too, but we don't. I don't like it. Okay. So for guys, the direct stimulation of the genitals triggers a reflex erection. So, but for women, since women usually take longer to get warmed up, the excitement phase is all about piquing her desire. And you want to start her desire by being affectionate, by affection rather than arousal. This means doing everything but the really sexy stuff. So you want to focus on the erogenous zones, like doing a lot of kissing, massaging, playing with her hair, just being present, being turned on by her, enjoying looking at her, running your fingers along her neck or the inside of her arms. And as you touch these areas, her body will experience changes. She will start to get turned on and get an erection. And yes, women get erections too, because we talked about the clitoris already, and blood will rush to the clitoral region, and her clitoris will come engorged and swell, and she will get wet. And according to the sexual arousal book, Sheila Winston talks about how a woman gains maximal engorgement after 20 minutes of arousal. I really like this diagram to show it. So this is the clitoris when it's not engorged. A little bit more engorged. See how the legs are more swollen and even more engorged. Now see, when the clitoris is really engorged, it's just making the vagina really tight. I'm going to zoom out so you can see all three. So a lot of men are just having intercourse with their wives when she's like this, instead of getting her really turned on and getting her really swollen and wet. And if you've ever been with a woman who is really turned on, you will see her outer lips swell and get huge. So if you're a good lover, you will get her to this point. And a lot of that has to do also with how you're treating her emotionally, how connected you are. See, a guy will get to this point in seconds, but a woman has to open to this point. You have to get her to open. You can't force it. This is from her body responding. This is all her response to you. Cannot force this. A guy gets here in seconds. For a woman, it's a process. Okay, and just groping her is just going to turn her off and make her shut down, and the book is closed. It sounds very complicated, but it really isn't. If you start being with the woman and just getting to know her and try different things, and she gives you feedback, within a few weeks you will be a master at this. It just seems like a lot when I'm explaining it. But pretty much guys who know what they're doing, they just automatically do this. Okay, so as you touch these areas, she will get engorged and wet, and that's the excitement phase. When she's aroused, her body and her mind want sex. That doesn't mean she's ready for intercourse yet, only that her body and her mind are aiming toward it. Again, all women are different. Some women want intercourse, don't need any warm-up for intercourse. I'm actually that kind of woman myself. I don't need a lot of warm-up for intercourse, but I need a lot of warm-up before I want my nipples touched. So all women are different. When I was younger, I needed more warm-up. No, I never needed a lot of warm-up actually for that. So all women are different, okay? You can't assume. So some of the stuff they say is just generalities. But I did know a woman who was speaking at a women's sexual conference, and she needed a lot of warm-up, even though she was like in a polyamorous relationship. And even with her husband, she had a rule that he was not allowed to penetrate her until she gave explicit consent. And she needed a lot of warm-up before she wanted penetration. Okay, some women want their breasts sucked immediately. For some women, it's too sensitive. Some women don't like intercourse. It's very painful. Some women love intercourse. Some women have really long vaginas and they like long penises. Some women have short vaginas. They don't like a long penis. So we're all physically different. So you just get to explore the woman that you're with. So don't take everything that someone says to be like, everyone is this way. So for many men, the key to learning to make the plateau phase last longer is so that you can give the woman enough pleasure to get her to orgasm. Because after you orgasm, guys, you will not care about orgasm. Usually you'll kind of want to take like a refractory period to just like chill out, okay? But for the woman, when she's reached plateau, she'll want consistency to reach orgasm. They talk about that. They talk about orgasm, resolution. And that's the end of that chapter. I'm going to end this video here because that ends part 1 of the book. Again, this is the book, The Good Guy's Guide to Great Sex, by Sheila, Gregoire, and her husband, Dr. Keith Gregoire, a pediatrician. I've made other videos on this book already, so I'll start a playlist for this book so that you can find the other videos I've made on this, okay? And thank you so much for watching my video. I'll be back for the comments.